today's episode, we're building the Surfer prototype. Welcome back to Stefan Custom Guitars. The body series begins by printing out my template and putting it together on the light table. I transfer the paper template onto 1/4 inch hardboard and cut it out. I use my sander to get it as close as I can to the pencil line, and after I refine it further by hand. I make another copy of the template to get smoother edges. It's not too bad, but I still have to go in by hand and iron out any imperfections. Here I mark out for the pilot holes for the screws. For the final copy of the template, I'll be transferring it onto 1/2 inch MDF, and here I cut it out using my jigsaw. And then I get it to the line using the sander, pretty much the same process as before. I take my 1/4 inch template that I refine as much as I can, and I double side stick tape it to the 1/2 inch template. And here in this next step I go to route out the shape, but I had an issue with my router. After making the height adjustment, there's a brace that locks the router in place, but after turning it on, the vibrations cause the brace to unlock, and the cutting bit jittered out of place, making it very unsafe. I tried tightening the screw at the brace to lock it tighter, but it still unlocked itself after turning it on. I'm not sure why it was doing that. I hadn't done that before. This was during wintertime and it was quite cold in the garage. As you can see here in this close-up how it starts to vibrate and jitter out of place. At this point I wasn't having any of it and it was way too dangerous to continue using this router, and decided to upgrade my table and router. This is the Triton Dual Mode Precision Plunge Router, TRA001, and it's mounted to a new router table I picked up by Craig. I couldn't be happier with this new setup. Operations are much smoother than before. Here the template is nicely copied onto the 1/2 inch MDF, but will still need a bit more work. I checked the template for smoothness by holding it to the light and see how the shadow transitions, and there's a bit of waviness that needed to be ironed out. So I took my time and smoothed everything out with some sandpaper and checked it again against the light. I wanted to make sure all the curves were as smooth as they could be before transferring onto the actual body blank. And here we are, the template for the body is finally complete. In this next section I take some time to prepare the body blank before cutting out the shape. The wood I'm using for the body is alder. The blank had these grooves that I needed to smooth out. I sanded it flat with a block of granite and sandpaper. Since this is a 2-piece body blank, I can use the joint line as my center line, and that makes things a bit more convenient without having to figure out where the center line is on the other side. So the shape is now traced and it's ready to be cut out. To cut out the shape I'll be using my jigsaw, and these are the blades that I'll be using, and these are great for thicker pieces of wood. I prefer using the jigsaw here instead of the bandsaw, and I find I have a bit more control with it. These blades are really easy to work with and give me a nice clean cut. Another reason for using the jigsaw, for this size of piece I prefer to maneuver the blade around the wood instead of the wood around the blade. And the same is true whenever I use my handheld router and the router table. I guess it depends on the job. Here we are all cut out. The next step will be to get it closer to the pencil line using the sander and route it. Looking pretty good. Alder is really easy to work with, and I couldn't have asked for better grain on this piece. Next step is to attach the template via double stick tape. I find that 1 to 1.5 millimeters is sufficient enough not to put any stress on the router. The less the better. The bits I use are Freud. I find them to cut very well and they're very good quality. start with a shorter bit for my first pass around, and then move on to a longer one. This one here is an inch high and a 1/4 inch diameter. I then flip it over and finish off with this flush trim bit. At this point the shape is routed and it's looking pretty good. I'm not sure what happened, but I got a little bit of chip out there. No problem, that will get resolved later. There are a few burn marks, but those will get sanded out and cleaned up. I don't remove the template just yet since I need to transfer my pilot holes for the screws. And this is after a little bit of cleanup with sandpaper. The next step to do is the roundovers, and I do them in a particular way. One side of the body is rounded over with a 1/2 inch radius, and the other side, where the horns are, is rounded over with a 1/4 inch radius. And the upper horn on the front side is rounded over with a 1/8 inch radius. And then I blend them together by hand. This is a feature that I do in all my guitars, depending on the model. I find that it accentuates the shape even further. Okay, so let's go through it. I start with a 1/2 inch radius, and that goes on the top and the back. I then continue with a 1/4 inch radius. I continue with the 1/4 inch radius until I get to the upper horn, and then I switch to a 1/8 inch radius just for this part here. I blend in the transitions using a rasp and some sandpaper. It's a subtle feature, but I like how the radius tapers towards the point of that upper horn. Thank you for watching, and please tune into the next episode where we'll be doing a little bit more carving. Bye for now.